half a century, the BMW Art Cars have given some of the world's greatest artists a platform to creatively express their fascination with the automobile. Today, we arrived at the BMW Welt in Munich, where, for the first time ever, all 20 BMW Art Cars have come together in one place for the ultimate celebration of automotive art history. So join us as we go behind the scenes to uncover some of the most surprising stories behind the creation of these iconic sculptures on wheels.
Hey, Thomas.
JP.
How are you?
What a pleasure to see you.
Good
Thanks
to see
for
you.
coming. This is amazing.
Thank you for having us, because this is a very special moment.
You're in for a big treat.
A massive treat, and I can't wait.
Never before, 20 BMW Art Cars here
Mega.
at BMW Welt. We hadn't had this before anywhere on the planet. You know, the Art Cars were celebrating the 50th anniversary.
Yes.
So we had them like tour, 60 countries with 2 million visitors in 2025 and 2026. But we thought, let's do a homecoming.
Yes,
and let's have you there for the homecoming.
And I mean, we are the first one, guys, that have a look at the selection of all the 20 cars. Thomas, we know each other for decades.
Yeah.
You don't see that, obviously, in our age. Obviously not. But we know each other for decades. But tell me, I really didn't understand. What are you actually doing at BMW?
I wonder myself, like every single day that they let me do what I want to do. And this is amazing because it really adds, I would say, to the visibility, the image and the reputation of the company. I'm in charge of global cultural engagement. I know it sounds weird, but we've been active in the arts for 50 years with hundreds of initiatives worldwide. You know, be it orchestras, museums, art fairs, everything. But of course, the nucleus of it all is the BMW Art Cars.
Amazing. I mean, the art cars are such an important part of automotive history and culture. Speaking of culture, what would you say is you mentioned the nucleus, but what was the basic idea of the art cars?
Well, you know, if I'm completely honest, I'm an art historian, right? And I didn't like the BMW Art Cars when I wasn't working for BMW. And it's not because of a corporate brainwash, but it is because I got into the history of it all that I came to appreciate them. It wasn't because PR and marketing people put their heads together thinking, how can we introduce the brand BMW to the arts? You know, it's nothing bad comes off of PR and marketing people putting their heads together. I'm not saying that. But it's so much more interesting.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. And so much more fascinating, the authenticity of it all by Hervé Poulain, you know, the race driver infatuated with contemporary art, Jochen Nerpasch, our motorsports founder and director, meeting, you know, basically at the racetrack of Le Mans, talking about their passion for racing, obviously, and Hervé Poulin's passion for art. And this is how this came together in 1975 with the 3.0 CSL by Alexander Calder. You know, and what I love about this, JP, if you allow me, is that this is not only about arts and culture, it's not only about design, it's about racing, it's about mechanics, it's about motorsports, it's about engineering, it's about technology. And you would think that all these art cars are basically at the crossroads of all of these different passions. And that's why people love them so much.
I couldn't agree more. It's just this energetic thing that goes out from this art cars. And we're standing now in front of the big advertising
It's great we're looking at a poster while the art cars are around the corner.
I mean, it's fantastic.
It's a good poster.
I mean, shall we jump over to the cars?
Of course.
Okay, perfect.
But you mentioned something that I think was of interest, if you allow me, and that has to do with, you know, artist fascination with cars. I mean, if we look at the invention of the automobile, it wasn't us at BMW, sadly, but nevertheless, we jumped on board very quickly. You know, artists have been fascinated and critical of individual mobility. So we delve into that enthusiasm and into that whole thought of, you know, artists and individual mobility with our BMW Art Cars, as I said, starting in 1975. But you already had, in 1909, and you know it very well, the Futurist Manifesto being published on the cover of Le Figaro, you know, written by Marinetti and other futurist artists, hailing the car as our sculpture of modernity, going into the sound of the car, the scent of the car, the speed of the car. It becomes this multi-sensual object which, you know, artists are celebrating at the early 20th century. And I think the first one who ever painted a car on the outside was actually Sonia Delaunay. an amazing French woman artist. It was a Citroën, I have to admit, but it was in 1925. So 50 years prior to the BMW Art Car series, there's already artists painting cars.
I mean, obviously, I didn't know anything of what you just said, but thank you very much for uploading me with this cultural
Thank you for making me brag with my wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Wait a minute, it's closed.
Well, it's not closed for JP. If he comes along, the magic wand opens up every door.
Let's see how this works. Walk through it. Sesame, open.
Here we go. Come on in.
Let's go inside. Okay, now we're here, and I get shivers. I get shivers because I never see these cars all together. Not really actually shivers, but I feel it's an aura around these cars. And you just mentioned the Calder, which started everything, which is my favorite. But
good.
That's something like, and I mean, it's an amazing look.
I'm always being asked, like, what is my favorite BMW art car, right? And I say I have 3 kids. And I say, like, look, what kid do I love the most? But it's just like you, because if I were to boil down to one single car, it would have to be the one that started it all.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, without this car, there would not be the other cars. And what I love is that Calder, of course, being that guy who created mobile sculptures, and actually working on a toy car to make this all happen, that he used the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, out of which, as you know, all of the other colors evolve. So always think like, just like out of these 3 colors, all other colors evolve. Out of this car, all other cars evolve.
Amazing.
Nobody ever thought that when this thing hit the racetrack in 1975, that this was going to be a series. But it was like, it left the pit stop, children are cheering it on, parents were going crazy, and we thought, hey, maybe we have something. So this is what started this all, and I'm just very happy and grateful for this very car. But they should have all speeding tickets and tickets for wrong parking, being here at the BMW Welt. What are they doing here?
I mean, this is still Germany.
What is this?
This is Germany. No, one serious question. In 1975, and excuse my ignorance, but was Calder a big thing already in 1975? Was he like this big as he is now? And was like when Poulain said, let's do this with Nerpasch together, was he like a big
I'd love to argue that none of the BMW art car artists was as big as they are today, as compared to back in the days. But Alexander Calder, he passed away a year after. So this was basically the epitome of what he was, able to do on this planet. And he was just happy to have, this car, be a race car, because it basically came true what he was planning all along with his sculptures, that you would see them while they move. And that is
very cool.
That is what this is.
I mean, for me, my personal story is not only that I like the colors and the fact that this is the base of everything, but I remember that I went swimming in La Colombe d'Or in Saint-Paul-de-Vence under the big Calder sculpture. There. And this was my first time where I was swimming because, I'm a car guy. I'm not an.
I didn't know you could swim. That's amazing.
It's physics. Joking apart, so it was the first time that I really get connected to art. I had the feeling. Sounds very like super cheesy, but it's true. Because swimming there, and it was like evening, and this big sculpture standing on the side of the pool, and then you see it like, what did you thought about doing this and stuff like this? So that was my first connection.
It's good you have that moment. It's called an epiphany, right? When all of a sudden you realize something that is bigger than you and yourself, and you connect the dots. And you appreciating art while swimming and looking at Calder is something that will connect you to Calder forever.
Tell me, what do you think was the intention of Poulain bringing art on cars? Was it also a monetary one?
No. It wasn't a monetary one. I think it's something to be said for longevity. Yes, we know Alexander Calder passed away a year after he created the BMW art car. But the founders of the BMW art cars, Hervé Poulain and Jochen Nerpasch, are still well. They're doing amazing. They're still there. It was really about Hervé Poulain. I think he wanted to race. And the way to sneak himself into the race as a race driver was, to connect with the team. So I think he was actually looking at other teams prior, to tell you the whole story. But then he met Jochen Nerpasch. And then he came with this idea of Alexander Calder because he was already into the arts. As you know, he's the CEO of a huge auction house now, Art Curial. And so the story story obviously continued with the connections that Hervé Poulain had with, great galleries in New York City, which all represented those early BMW art car artists. So I really think it was about Hervé Poulain finding a way into being a race driver, and Jochen Nerpasch being, I don't want to say crazy enough, but being open enough, being curious enough to allow for that to happen. Every single artist is scared that those drivers will not give it their all because they're sitting, I don't know, like with the Jeff Koons in a multi-million-dollar car. And Alexander Calder told Hervé Poulain, no matter what you do, win, gagner, gagner, gagner.
I think that's, let's have a little walk down in this
absolutely.
Hall of Fame, I would say now.
Yeah.
For those who are, mainly people love cars or they love art, and I think this is a good connection. So why do you think art and cars, as you said a little bit in the beginning, but I would like to retouch this point, is a good fit?
Well, I think it is a good fit if you have the BMW art cars, because the one thing that these artists have, and I think that's why they trust us, and that's why we could lure, the biggest names into the BMW art car series, is because they know they have complete creative freedom.
So they could do whatever they do.
They could do whatever they want to do. The good thing is about race cars, obviously, is they cannot mess with aerodynamics and weight. So there's a lot of restrictions right there. If they come up with something that makes the cars go faster, they might as well take away, the weight or do something with the aerodynamics. But mostly they leave that to the engineers. As I said, the artists also want the car to not be restricted by it being an art car, but they want it to really perform very well. So they have the same goal. And I think when you look at creative freedom, you can really look at, what connects us as human beings, what makes us amazing as the apex species that we are on this planet, if we put our heads together instead of bashing our heads in, which we do way too often. So you put your head together, it's a co-creation as an artist with the engineers, with the designers, with the mechanics, with the race drivers. So you see what can happen if many people from many different walks of life and specialists in their very own field, put their heads together. And one thing also, if you allow me, JP, is when we look at the story of art, right? And let's say the invention of the central perspective in Renaissance, every painting, be it on wood, be it on canvas, was always about making the wood and the canvas disappear because you created an illusionary space. This is what art is all about. Now with the BMW art cars, obviously, you have a canvas which is an industrial design object, which is a beautiful BMW. And that's where I think that this series will actually grow very well in time. As we've seen with the artists, they get bigger and bigger, but also we look at the 3.0 CSL with Calder's car from 1975 now, and we still see obviously a car, but we might look at this car, and you know that better than I do, in 50 years' time, the way that we look at horse carriages now. Individual mobility will definitely change. And these art cars, they don't only show the work of a great artist, they also have embedded in them the car and the design and industrial design as well. And our look at these cars will change in time because of it.
That's a very, very good point. And I think this puts these cars into the perspective where they needed to be seen as an important part of the automotive universe. Do you think that, especially with race cars, looking at Jeff Koons, which I think is one of the most amazing cars in the sense of it stands, but it looks so dynamic. It is in motion even standing. Do you think that they like also this kind of being, race driver and artists are always being a bit like borderline in a sense? Going through the limit to win and
Frank Stella would be the first one to admit that while working on a BMW art car, he became a sculptor. He became, for 4 decades, he became a sculptor. He was only doing paintings before, and he became a race driver. So it actually changes the career of many artists. If we look at John Baldessari's car, he didn't want to show in museums anymore. Museums are, sorry to say, restrained containers and not exuberant companions that are cars. So he said he was eager to jump on this possibility because he wanted his art to matter outside of the constraints of a cultural institution. So there's many artists that are obviously interested in making their work matter, in delving into something that they don't know before. You are working with a company with 150,000 employees worldwide.
Crazy.
You have your engineers, you are, as an artist, artist, you have a studio. You have 20 assistants, you have 1 assistant, you have 100 assistants, as Jeff Koons once did, all working on to make his vision come true. But if you work with those that are in the know, engineers, designers, something else might inform your work, even if it doesn't have to do with cars, for the years to come. And I think curiosity is the greatest character trait, or one of them.
100%.
And so artists, once they trust us, and they know we've been active in the arts, they can talk to for 50 years, they can talk to other art car artists, and they will tell you, oh my God, BMW, they let you do whatever it is that you want to do. They want to make your vision come true.
That's very interesting. Now, let's start a little bit to give the background how it works that an art car becomes an art car. So where does it start?
Nowadays we have a jury in place, and for me it was important to put a jury in place, so it's not BMW who chooses an artist, but we add another layer, let's say, of importance, of significance. For me it's important that the jury represents, all of the continents, that it is, from many museums, from many different cities and many walks of life. So these are museum directors, and we tell them the model, and then they get to think about what artists might be interested in doing this sort of thing. There are exceptions to the rule, obviously. We started with Olafur Eliasson with the jury process. There are exceptions to the rule. Jeff Koons, in an interview which I had read, he said once, I want to be part of the pantheon of Lichtenstein, of Warhol, 2 artists that he loves and admires and channels through his own art. So, I mean, who's going to say no to Jeff? Yeah?
Not many.
Exactly. So we didn't, obviously, and I continued the conversation based on his off remark in some interview that he made.
That's fantastic. So that's the first step. By the way, are there artists that say no?
If they would have said that, I would not let you know, because, this is a success story of 20 BMW.
But you should, because it's just us.
All right, good. All right, I shall confide in you, JP.
Please.
Now, the thing is this. When Leo Castelli was a big gallerist who had like Warhol and Rauschenberg under contractual agreement, and I think that after the Warhol car, there was talk, at least we found that in our archive, of getting another great American artist, Jasper Jones, who's huge, to paint a BMW car after, Lichtenstein and after Warhol and Stella and Calder had done so. And apparently he said no. So that is one very early no. But I tell you the latest no, and that was Julie Mehretu. Julie Mehretu was chosen by an international jury, amazing museum directors. But Julie wrote the most polite answer that actually in Germany people thought, oh, that's a yes. But I was 10 years in the United States. I know what a polite no means. And she said she loves the decision of the jury. She appreciates that a lot. She really appreciates many of the artists that are in the Art Car series, like Stella and also Jenny Holzer. Some of her, her car actually has, she didn't call it homages, but shout outs, to Stella and to Jenny Holzer. But she said, like, I'm a visual artist working with paintings. I'm not a sculptor, and I'm not interested in individual mobility, at least in the moment, and racing and speed and so forth, and all that the BMW Art Car project entails. Now, COVID was horrible, obviously, but COVID also made her think differently, because then you were stuck at home. I took the liberty of sending her again that amazing picture of that international jury which picked her, and I said, would you mind reconsidering? And she did. And then she said, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
The latest,
the Art Car number 20, which, up until her car, we could always call the Art Cars, and we always did rolling sculptures. Julie didn't want that. She said, it's a performative painting. And that's
very cool.
I love that performative painting aspect. And there's one thing that I learned from, being responsible for the Art Cars now for over 2 decades with the artists. The most important thing is get a model of the car that they're actually going to turn into an art car into their studio really quick, like a real good model, because then they start thinking. And have them have a race experience as fast as possible. And of course, with Julie, being in the pit stop with the mechanics, the race drivers, and everything, like John Baldessari, same thing, Jeff Koons in Sebring, same thing. Like, it changed their conception of what a car really constitutes, that is made and built not only to perform, but to win.
I said in the beginning, people who watch this film, they watch our films, going to the most wonderful events, and now they say, okay, art, I don't watch art. why art is like snobby. I don't want to do it. What do you say to those guys who just joined in, so guys and girls, obviously, and everyone in between, who joins in for this film? Why is this not snobby? Why is this also car?
If you're listening to this, and he has referred to art as being snobby 3 times already, this is insane. You know, let's not cut off our own foot. Art is an essential way of humankind expressing itself and, you know, being aware of itself. As I said before, you know, there's so many bad things going on in the world. With art, we can delve into things that happened decades ago, hundreds of years ago, and millennia ago. We can listen to a score composed 500 years ago. We can read something written 2,000 years ago. That is all because of art, and that is what sets us apart from other species. And this is where art, science, technology, all of these things come in and make us the beautiful human beings that we are. And I think that, you know, art can be seen as snobby, because there's like this, I don't know, this red tape around it. And you think like, ooh, this is only for, you know, the knowledgeable, or it's only for the super rich. I would really argue that art is for everyone. And if the art cars stand for one thing, it is exactly that. You know, it is for everyone. And dabble in the arts, you know, lose your inhibitions and just allow yourself to think about what it is that you see. You don't need to read art history books. It's about your visceral connection to something that you see, or even your visual only, your own aesthetics that come into play. And if you say, I don't like it, it's based on taste, it's fine.
That's the best dogma.
Yes.
For opening art to everyone.
100%.
And we are a car channel, and we think that this is absolutely worth viewing. And those who tuned in and watched this film, I hope that they get out of this film saying, wow, classic driver and Thomas, thank you very much, because it's very cool. Now, Thomas, I'm dare to ask you this. Normally I don't do that, because I know that you love everything, as you said, with your daughters. That's very with your children. That's very difficult. But let's jump into your personal favorite art cars. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Top.
Let's go. All right, so the one car that I really have to show you, and it needs no introduction, is the Andy Warhol 1979 M1. But Andy Warhol sends in, you know, models of what he wants to do with the car. The first one was camouflage. And it's like 40 years after World War II, German car racing in France with camouflage. Not that great of an idea. The next thing is he sends in, you know, flower design, but he covers all the windshields. And so we thought like, you know, maybe you come with your entourage, you come to Munich. There's this young guy who runs a paint shop. His name is Walter Maurer. Come here and go crazy. And what I find so interesting about this car, and Frank Stella, his friend, you know, also part of the Art Car series, said that this is one of the best things that Andy Warhol ever did. As you know, in New York, he calls his studio, as we always call art, a studio is a studio, he calls it factory, right? And as we know, artists are known to paint by hand. But Warhol wanted to be a machine, as he always said. He invented the silkscreen process, you know, for his art, which is why it's sometimes the hard to authenticate now, because he never signed most of his pieces. So the moment he is confronted with an object of industrial design, you know, he does this choreographed dance around the car, painting it in many colors, turning around, you know, the brush and scratching it onto the surface. This is where this comes from, onto the wet paint.
Really?
He uses his own fingers, you know, in gloves, you know, to come up with these lines that kind of make this even more energetic. He wanted to show movement while the car is standing still, but he also said that the car turned out so much greater than his art on it. But that's just Warhol. You know, he signs it right onto the wet paint here in the back, Andy Warhol, and the car is done in 28 minutes. And while we don't talk about prices, obviously, this is considered by many to be the most expensive car on the face of the earth, you know, having been created by Andy Warhol in 1979, racing in Le Mans that very year.
I think why not speaking about prices? There's nothing bad about it.
No. I just think that the artistic significance is not based on prices.
It's going to be double-digit millions, so that we can say.
Well, that we can say, yes.
Maybe triple digits.
I don't know, but
No,
maybe it will go there at one day. But the thing is also that this was a paint shop outside of Munich.
Yeah.
Walter Maurer, who helped with a lot of these cars, because the cars had to be signed, obviously, by the artists themselves, but sometimes they made little maquettes, and he would, make their vision come true on the actual car.
Really? This was the process?
Like with Stella, for example, he didn't paint this grid onto his car, but he had it done. He did it for a maquette this size, and then Walter Maurer turned it into the art car, and Frank Stella came around and signed it. Same with Lichtenstein. Warhol, he painted it himself in 28 minutes at Walter Maurer's paint shop. And the one thing is this, and Walter Maurer doesn't like me to tell that story, but I've been telling you many stories that I have told no one before.
He will be in this film as well.
I trust you completely. But don't mention it to him.
No,
please.
of course not. Only after release.
It's like 28 minutes. We had all the film crews there, German television, etc. I mean, Warhol was a big name already back then. So he was done in 28 minutes, and the TV crews weren't there. And then he saw in the back of the paint shop, he saw another pristine white new BMW. And he said, I can't paint that one. But it happened to be the car of Walter Maurer, who, I don't know, in his late 20s, early 30s, had just had the money to buy a new Beamer, make his dream come true. And he actually said, over my dead body, nobody's painting this car. He's regretting that, as you may very well imagine, that he told Warhol not to paint his car. So that story is all embedded in that amazing M1.
Since 1998, Classic Driver is the place online to find iconic classics like an Aston Martin DB5 or modern sports cars like the latest Porsche GT3 RS. So if you're thinking of buying a new car for your collection or selling, head over to Classic Driver.
Und da war ich natürlich in der Zwickmühle. Und da habe mir gesagt, oh, der verschmiert mir mein Auto nicht. Und somit war das der größte Fehler in meiner gesamten Laufbahn. Wenn es 2 Autos gegeben hätte, dann wäre der Wert eventuell nicht so hoch wie heute. Und der Wert dieses Autos ist unschätzbar. Mein Name ist Walter Maurer, ich bin Designer, gebürtig in Dachau. Meine Verbindung zu den BMW Art Cars ist die, dass 1975 Andy Warhol war bei mir im Studio und der war am Anfang sehr introvertiert. Man konnte mit seiner Heiligkeit, wenn ich das so sagen darf, im Moment gar nicht einmal so sprechen. Und die Schwierigkeit ist, das zu studieren, wie kann der Künstler seinen Strich der Farben aufbringen, ohne dem, dass sich der Strich verändert. Da habe ich ein Material gefunden, das sehr pastös ist. Und er hat mit großen Flächenstreicher gestrichen und mit kleinen Pinselchen. Und die Farbe ist stehen geblieben und das war die Wichtigkeit. Und das war natürlich herrlich und das war die ganze Aktion, die sehr schnell gelaufen ist.
Das war ganz natürlich. Herr Maurer hat also alle unsere Rennfahrzeuge lackiert. Da war also schon eine Verbindung da und wir wussten, dass Herr Maurer der Mann ist, der ein solches Projekt umsetzen kann. Mein Name ist Jochen Nierpasch. Ich bin in Krefeld geboren mit Benzin im Blut. Ich bin früher selber Rennen gefahren und habe dann anschließend, als ich 29 Jahre alt war, gewechselt zum Management und bin Rennleiter für Ford und dann für BMW und später für Mercedes geworden. Im Januar 1975 bekam ich einen Anruf von Jean Todt, der war damals bei uns Rallyefahrer. Und der sagte mir, da gibt es in Paris einen Kunstauktionator, sein Name ist Hervé Poulain, der hat die Idee, ein Rennauto zu bemalen von einem guten Künstler und dieses Rennauto selber in Le Mans zu fahren. Mein erster Gedanke war, wenn man die Kunst mit der Technik und mit dem Rennsport verbindet, das ist für uns ein Argument, trotz der Energiekrise in Le Mans zu starten. Als ich dann hörte, dass der Künstler Alexander Calder war, Alexander Calder hat zu der Zeit eine Braniff Airlines Jumbojet gestylt. Das war ein wunderbares Objekt. Da konnte ich mir sehr, sehr gut vorstellen, dass ein Mobile als Rennfahrzeug in Le Mans beim wichtigsten Langstreckenrennen der Welt, dass das eine gute Sache wird. Also haben wir es gemacht. Das war sehr schwierig für uns, weil alles sehr kurzfristig war. Das war der Anfang der Art Cars.
Die Herausforderung der Kunst, der Übertragung auf das Auto, ist natürlich eine kleine Prozession. Man bekommt hier eine Makete, die studiert man durch. Wie kann ich das machen? Mit welchen Materialien kann ich das bemalen? Und dann spricht man sich auch mit BMW ab, weil diese Auto, die Rennen fahren, da muss ja ein spezieller Lack sein. Weil, wie wir alle wissen, ist ja auf der Rennstrecke so ein leichtes Spread, wenn ein Auto hinter den anderen hinterherfährt und dass das Auto nicht abgestrahlt wird oder der Lack vom Auto nicht abgestrahlt wird. Und da muss man schauen, dass man das beste Material, auch den Endlack, der über die Malerei kommt, der muss sehr stabil sein, dass er sich nicht durch Steinchen ablöst.
Das Interesse der Künstler an der Technik war ausgeprägter als das Interesse der Techniker an der Kunst. Die Rennfahrer selber, ich glaube, die hat die Kunst gar nicht so sehr beeinflusst. Die wollten mit ihren Rennautos nach vorne fahren. Aber für uns war, ich möchte mal sagen, das Ziel zu erreichen nicht mehr der Sieg, sondern für uns war das Ziel, die Technik mit der Kunst zu vereinen und das bei dem wichtigsten Motorsportereignis der Welt, dem 24-Stunden-Rennen in Le Mans.
And for you personally, you choose this one as one of the favorite art cars. Mm-hmm. What is it that makes it so special to you? Is it really the name Warhol? Is it the work itself? Is it the story behind it, or the combination of all?
It's the combination of all. Thank you for that question, for that suggestive one. But it's also because we're going to definitely walk over to the Koons car as well.
Yeah.
It's how it is embedded into the whole series of the BMW Art Cars. First of all, the M1 is an iconic car.
Yes.
Yeah? It's a beautiful, absolutely beautifully designed car. And if you think about, there's this whole dialogue between the BMW Art Cars that you don't pick up when you just look at them as single cars. The car raced in 79. Yes. If you look at the starting number of Jeff Koons' car, it's 79. He wanted the 79 because he knew this, his idol, Andy Warhol, that his car was racing in 1979. Amazing. So that is all part of that history. And there's so many little different stories embedded in those cars, how they bounce off of each other, how they inspire each other, that, Warhol is smack in the middle of that narrative as well.
I was always reluctant to love this car because of all the fame around it and like trying to be something special, which is stupid. I admit it now with 47, and the car raced 47 years ago as well. I intended not to like it because I said, it's so easy to choose the Warhol car. Yeah. But now I have to say that, yes, mainly I would like to go for something different, but I really love it.
He becomes human. He becomes human painting this car, whereas he wanted to be a machine in his factory. Yes. The moment he does this car, he does this dance around it. It's amazing.
I really like it. So I think you mentioned the Koons car. Let's jump.
Oh, sure. Let's go. Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't hear that, but our camera guys just said, don't move, which is difficult because Jeff Koons' car as we said, is motion in standing.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us. So your second, favorite.
With Jeff, as I said in an interview, he said, I want to do a BMW Art Car. He had a show at the, 2008 at the National Gallery in Berlin. This amazing Mies van der Rohe building. And I sneaked into the press conference between two interviews. And I said, look, I work for BMW. You said in an interview you wanted to do BMW Art Car. Can we talk? And he said, yeah, come to my studio in New York and we can continue the conversation. And I was like happy, and I did, and per his invitation. And then I came to his studio, and he let me know about his love for the BMW Art Car series, his love for racing, for cars. I mean, he was very much a car guy, and he also happened to love our brand. He happened to drive a BMW. And so all of this coming together, and then his gallerist, not sitting at the table when we had our first discussion, already thought, okay, this could lead somewhere. This car, where he actually, and you said it, it really is so dynamic. He was using all these different, very strong Pantone colors. He wanted it to, he said, like always glossy, shiny. That was important to him. And he wanted to show the power under the hood. Yeah. In the moment of creation, you have that explosion in the back. You have all of these dynamics going on.
You see the fragments flying.
I
never saw that before.
The fragments flying. And one thing also, it's so hard, to have a two-dimensional design put onto a three-dimensional object. If you are in a certain position here, it becomes like a perfect circle. Yeah. So this is all embedded into his design. He signed it right there next to the GT2 logo at the Centre Pompidou when it had its world premiere.
Amazing. And what I also like is that, maybe I'm interpreting too much into it, but it looks like if you have like a raindrop on top, which has one line, and then in the end you have this little bucket. So it looks like it rolls down like wet paint in the sense.
True.
But
that's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. Always. That's the nice way of cultural guys saying, okay, it's not at all like this, but thank you very much for this.
No, I said everybody's free to judge and free to see things.
I know. So why did you choose that car? Is it because also it was a car that's it was from the beginning very close to your project as well?
I think, of course, as I said, I entered the company in 2003. I was responsible for the Olafur car, for the John Baldessari car, the Chauffé car, the Koons car, and also the Julie Mehretu car. Working with artists is like the greatest privilege of my line of work. Working with them for years, these are artists that have major retrospectives around the globe. They're busy with their galleries and everything else, and they spent a substantial amount of time in making an art car, and me being part of that and being part of that discussion really lets me delve into their minds, and the other way around to a certain degree, which is a great privilege. And so of course I choose it because I was able to birth it as well.
Nice. It looks like a birth, so it's okay.
The moment of creation.
Exactly. And you know what? When we're just looking at the Mehretu car, first of all, a detail I haven't seen before, I just see it now, is that we have, like in the M cars, the two BMW, like in the M1,
correct.
the two W badges in the back. But this car, it reminds me, do you know in the Marvel movies, in the beginning, they flip through like the comic book, like this. Mm-hmm. And for me, this car looks exactly like that. It's like if you take a colorful comic book and you spread it down, just brrr, and that's what, like, with all the explosion coming.
That's a great association. She's known for this sort of abstract language and signage that she also finds. It's very fierce. That car, it's very energetic, it's very ambitious, it's very endurance-like. And when you look at sculptures from Baroque times, they tell a story by walking around them. Yeah. And so you see the other side of the car, it's completely different. And it's also interesting, it has these, since Taylor Swift, we call it Easter eggs.
It is.
Like right there with the flags of the race drivers from South Africa to the Netherlands to Germany. She put an Ethiopian flag somewhere close to her signature, as part of the design to basically insert herself also when it comes to her nationality.
And this is exactly what I like on the art cars, that you have a little story to tell, and the Easter eggs makes it all so funny. Yeah. And thank you very much also for sharing little details about it, which I really, really appreciate, because these are the things you don't read in the description of the cars and stuff like this.
JP, you were telling me about that you're amazed about the little stories that are ingrained in all of the little art cars and the stories that they tell. Just one more, because it's too good not to talk about it. You see here the red dot smack on the middle of the roof of John Baldessari's car.
For me, that's a Japanese flag.
That's a Japanese flag for basically everybody that you speak to. And he's a California artist. He had a Japanese American working for him at the studio at the time. So we all thought that this is what it is. I mean, John Baldessari was very old at the time. He passed away a year after. And he is known for his signature dots, which he put onto the car instead of regular advertisement, because he wanted to advertise himself. So he put the word fast there, because he's also known for putting words onto, canvases and whatnot. The great thing about this, because I asked him about this, the car was racing at the 24-hour race in Daytona. And he couldn't attend. He was there for the world premiere, not in a museum, because he wanted to show it at Art Basel in Miami Beach, but he couldn't attend the 24-hour race. It would have been too much for him. And I said, why the red dot? And he said, Thomas, I'm going to be lying in my living room, in my easy chair, my big sofa, watching this race on my big screen. I want to know when my car is driving by. I want to see which is mine. Hence the red dot.
Genius.
Genius. You're a genius.
Absolutely.
And maybe just another thing, because you asked me about my favorite cars, and one of them would absolutely have to be Esther Mahlangu's car. Esther Mahlangu is now a 91-year-old South African Ndebele tribal artist who's now making it into the center of the art world, because you have Rihanna, you have Pharrell Williams, you have Trevor Noah, you have Oprah Winfrey, all collecting her work now, which is amazing. That is, they are all collecting her work. She was just commissioned to do a big mural at the London Serpentine Gallery, and this car was commissioned in 1991. It was commissioned, and she puts the the tribal patterns of her hometown there. She really is teaching also girls, the tradition of what it is that she has achieved here with the car. And it was basically created in the year that Nelson Mandela was freed from prison after 27 years of solitary confinement. We have a plant in South Africa. We are a big employer in South Africa. So it was high time, to have the first woman join the BMW Art Car series. I mean, Jenny Holzer, Chow Fei, Julie Mehretu followed, luckily, but she's the first one. And she took a long time to really paint all of these details onto the car without ever using a ruler. And now that she's 91, the art world is finally paying attention.
And I think, didn't they do this, if I'm not mistaken, but this new technology where she designed this as well, or not?
We continued working with her on other models, limited editions, also Rolls-Royce for the interior. And yes, you're right, the e-ink technology that BMW is doing so well with, where you have like a plain color, and then all of a sudden it can light up. Like the engineer, Stella, who is leading the e-ink technology within BMW, she was always inspired by Esther Mahlangu. And it was, for her, it was amazing to visit Esther, to get the thumbs up from Esther, to continue using her design for e-ink. So the story with Esther definitely continues, and I'm happy that she's alive and thriving.
Amazing. And I mean, look at this color, and I remember I have this one as a little toy model.
Oh yes.
In a limited edition, and I really like it. It's really amazing.
It's beautiful.
I mean, that's cool. But I mean,
talking about cool, we're going into a freezer now.
I think we have to, right?
Yes.
Because the car of Olafur Eliasson, an artist from Iceland who did crazy things. And was it the Brooklyn Bridge? I don't know. Or the Washington Bridge in New York? One of the bridges in New York.
It was the Brooklyn Bridge.
So he thinks big, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
How did this start with him? Because I heard, and I hope that no one gets offended by it, but I know one of his students, and he can be very
peculiar, as all artists.
Let's say peculiar. It's a very nice phrase. That's very good.
That's the thing, like he was chosen by an international jury. He was the first one to be chosen by an international jury, I think 2005, 2006. He's a huge artist, obviously. He's not only an artist working within the confines of the museum world, but as he said, he wants his art to matter. He brings it out into the open, into nature. He's tackling the huge questions of human beings on this planet, being very critical also, obviously, of individual mobility. When he became an art car artist, he was lucky enough to not have a car that would then have,
Yeah.
As I said, the artists are free to do whatever, as long as they don't mess with the aerodynamics or the weight. With Olafur Eliasson, as I said, we bring the model to the table. So it was the H2R racing car, which BMW created a prototype of to basically make everybody see that doing very well when it comes to hydrogen. We set the world record for speed. We set the world record for endurance with this H2R prototype. So then it becomes Olafur's car. Olafur creates all these symposiums at his studio right next to the National Gallery in Berlin back then around the future of the car, talking about where the car will go with philosophers, sociologists, designers, engineers, creating a book that our designer, Adrian van Hooydonk, turned into mandatory reading for all of his hundreds of designers.
Nice.
So I'm talking about that dialogue with artists and our designers and engineers. This was an integral part of his art car project, but the most integral part, of course, is this being an ice car. You can only see it in a freezer. And it wasn't an easy sell, to tell you that much, in the company, because the first thing he did was rip out all the logos. And we love the logo. The logo is, it's our heart.
Yeah.
And so, but we put this whole notion of creative freedom to the test. And Olafur puts this in a freezer with like hundreds of icicles above stainless steel frames, which he built around the hydrogen car, to also make a comment, obviously one of many, about global warming. This freezer only works with alternative energy sources, so he made sure that this would be alternative energy that would feed the freezer and cool it down. But it's also about you being a human being in the cold. How do you relate to this with other human beings standing in the cold? Can you bring down the temperature? Can you lower it to make it more habitable? And the New York Times, I remember that, ran a one-page article and saying that Olafur's art car is the best advertisement BMW has towards its sustainable future. And for me, it was like, oh, finally,
acknowledgement.
This car was received so critical, that I thought, but out there, people appreciate how far out we go in our conversation with artists. And this is what you're about to see.
I mean, let's go into the cold.
Let's go.
Thomas, it's getting to be very cold.
Yes, it's gonna get cold.
Oh,
please,
man,
come on in.
Okay, it is very cold, actually. Whoa. Thomas, this is by definition the coolest art car.
Right.
And it's very cool. Look at this. I mean,
Thank you for the play on words. I think your hands are also getting cold.
Right.
This is minus 20 degrees. I mean, all run via natural energy sources. But this is how Olafur Eliasson wanted us to see this car. We have to imagine, and you see it a little bit, that the H2R actual car running on hydrogen, and of course we know hydrogen has to be very cold, is underneath the stainless steel beams, which he created. There's somebody from his studio working on making these hundreds of icicles come down on the car. This is a process that takes many days. We're just so happy to show it here for the 4th time ever. It was at the World Climate Conference in Copenhagen, at the Lucianza Museum, at the world premiere in San Francisco and Munich, and that's it. For 20 years it hasn't been shown, and now we're showing it again.
And I think it's a really, really cool aspect of the art cars that this is not only the coolest one, but it's also the one that looked the least like a car.
100%.
And this is what I love about it. And still, it's still an art car.
And that is what, and Eliasson is one of the greatest artists around. So this is the epitome of the creative freedom that we've been talking about.
Yeah. And tell me, someone like Olafur Eliasson, do they come here and say, no, this icicle should be a bit different? Or is it like, no, that's like art, it comes?
I was a little bit afraid of that, but as this is something that he has created 2 decades ago, he's, and he's so many works around the world, he cannot attend to every single one.
Yeah.
He trusted us with it. He trusted those that came from his studio to put the ice on it. I sent him pictures. He was overseeing the process, obviously. I mean, he's traveling the globe and he signed off on it. So he doesn't have to be here giving us a hard time, knowing that we're trying, as always, to make his vision come true.
Thomas, you showed us your favorite cars. Thank you very much. Don't touch it. You're not allowed to touch it.
Yeah, you can.
Don't do it. Thank you, Thomas, for your time spending with us, because it's really amazing to hear also this first-hand information, and it's really fantastic. I stick to it. The art cars changed the automotive universe in the most positive way they could be.
That's the best thing anybody could ever say, and I'm happy it's not coming from me, but from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Was ich auch an Jochen sagen will, der eigentlich der Vater des Ganzen ist, der die Art Cars ins Leben gerufen hat, das war die größte Idee, die er damals hatte. Und ich glaube, dass BMW noch in 100 Jahren profitieren wird, was Jochen damals veranstaltet hat. Und da kann ich nur sagen, Chapeau.
Also für mich, lieber Walter, vielen Dank, aber das war nicht meine Idee. Ich habe sie nur aufgegriffen. Die Idee kam eigentlich vom RW Berlin, aber ich habe sie aufgegriffen. Und die BMW Kulturmanagement hat das gemacht, die interessanteste Art Car Collection der Welt. Das ist fantastisch, was da passiert ist. Aber was dich betrifft, dein Meisterwerk wirklich war das Stella-Auto, die Tag- und Nachtarbeit. Das wurde ja damals alles handgemacht. Also als der Frank Stella das Auto zum ersten Mal sah, der hat gesagt, das gibt's doch gar nicht, was er da geleistet hat. Chapeau.
Dankeschön.
We end where the story of the BMW Art Cars began, the Calder car. And we hope that you had a little insight of how important art and cars could be. Because things like the Warhol M1, the Dunn M3 or the Fuchs 6 Series, they all are a kind of expression. And if we are honest, what we try to do with the thing we love the most, cars, is a way to express ourselves. The way we're driving, the color we choose, the modifications we do. And all of this, in the essence, comes back to the idea of the art cars. So the intention of our little film about the art cars is not to show you sophisticated art. The idea of this film is to understand beauty. Beauty in things that are ordinary, but not to us. Because the one thing we love are cars. This is why you're here at Classic Driver and kindly stop by watching our film. So thank you for joining us on this, I would say, very special occasion where we were allowed to see all 20 BMW art cars firsthand. And if you don't follow us on Instagram, please do so as well. And by the way, if you're looking for a base of your art car, check the Classic Driver Marketplace because we have thousands of potential art cars in the market. Stop by and I'm sure you will find the right canvas for your creation. Thank you for joining at this Classic Driver film. And please do subscribe Classic Driver's YouTube channel to not miss one of our wonderful films.